Yes.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi, how are you?
Good morning
Y-
from
Yeah.
Sydney,
Good
Australia.
good morning from Sydney, Australia there. How is everybody in Australia? You've had a very busy few days.
Yes, yeah, we have a new addition. I'm a great aunt, but now I'm a great aunt.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so excited, and it was sort of half expected, but yeah, it was just my sister's beside herself with joy, and
Hmm.
they don't watch this. So I can say this, and it's actually my favorite nephew. So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of nephews, but particularly I'm impressed with this one. So, oh, it's wonderful. His name is Hunter,
Okay.
Hunter Jake Howard.
Okay.
Oh,
S- It,
oh, it's wonderful.
But it's good that you went and, of course, gave them company, gave them help and support. Families need that, isn't it? They do.
Yeah, yeah. My
Mm,
sister's had pneumonia for a couple of months. It's been going around, and
mm,
we've missed each other because we do see each other at least once a month. I
mm.
go down there, but yeah, it's good to be home though. It's quite
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's
Hi,
good to be home.
Chantel, Martin. Good to see
Hi,
you. Hi,
hi Chantel.
Marianne. Yes. Hi, Marianne. How are you from Oklahoma City? Great to see you, everybody who is on this live. We are so grateful for every single one of your time. Here we are for another edition of Royal News. Okay. It's been a little bit quiet with the British Royals being in the summer camp up in Balmoral, but they are going to come out flying with activities.
It looks
And
like it, doesn't it? Mm.
yes, and we just going to talk about insights that we know at this point, things that we sort of have a bit of an idea of where they are heading when they come out of that break. And of course, the other side of the Atlantic, Meghan, Harry, and what's going on with their stuff there, because these stories run alongside each other every time we come on these live streams. So, are we ready for this, Catherine?
Absolutely. I'm really pleased to be here, actually. I've missed you.
Yes. Yeah, we missed you so much. We had a live stream the other day and you were not here, but hey, we heard you in the comments section. Comment section, and we saw you were on the road um,
Yeah, yeah.
to somewhere, South Wales, I think, and we
I was
lost you
just,
somewhere in a
yeah.
ditch.
I
Yes.
was, yeah, somewhere in a ditch. Story of my life.
Yeah.
I was on the South Coast line, and the
Yeah. But
um,
yes, so
activity there
everybody.
is patchy. It's good
Mm,
though.
mm.
Yeah,
So
your
I'm just
life
gonna
is
test this briefly, and I see if it comes up on the screen here.
okie doke.
Everyone. Then that way we'll know that YouTube messaging is working properly for the night. Yeah. Okay. Tuning in.
I have some news about Australia.
Yes, so that's we're going to
Yeah.
be interested in hearing that. Yeah,
Mm.
yes, I think we are good. So it's working. Yes. So where do we start? Should we start with the news in Australia? Because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
monarch, the
Just
king, is always coming fast in all these stories.
well,
Mm.
his trip to the heads of government, the Commonwealth heads of government, appears to be still proceeding, but there's a really big headline in the Herald Sun a day or two ago, and it reads, I'll read it to you.
Mm.
King's recovery could be impeded. So the King Charles Australia tour could could put his full recovery from cancer at risk,
Mm.
according to Queen Camilla. This is
Mm.
actually believed to be directly from the Queen Consort. So
Mm.
I'm not holding a lot of hope. The heads of government Commonwealth meeting is from the 21st to the 25th. but it's still saying on the government website and your local members website, the King's coming in October, but it doesn't. There are no details, and now this has come out less than 2 days ago. So
Mm,
I think they're putting the kibosh on it. To be honest, I'm not surprised. We've all been
mm,
hoping. I'm
mm,
not surprised.
mm,
And the king is known to be a workaholic.
mm,
I mean, his energy is limited, and the queen doesn't want her husband. Let's put them as man and wife now. She
mm,
doesn't want her husband's recovery jeopardized.
mm,
But I understand the king. I understand the king's um, intention. I really do, because he's really connected to Australia. He was at school when he was in his youth for 6 months. He went
mm.
to school, and the royal family have got their roots are really deep here in Australia, especially when he was Prince of Wales. But I don't know. Where's my tissues?
Oh, I
I was
know.
really.
I know. Get a drink. Someone give us a drink, a cup of tea, a glass of water. Yeah, get yours there. Yeah. Mm,
Oh, anyway, that's it.
mm.
That's all I've got. Sorry,
Yeah,
gang.
I feel what you do right here, and of course we would want this trip to go on, and King Charles to travel and come and uh, visit this very, very
Yes.
country which is very close to the United Kingdom. It forms a great part of the Commonwealth. It has been long overdue since we had a monarch come down to Australia. So this would have been the perfect time to come round. But we do understand what is obviously going on with the British royals and the health concerns. And Australia itself is not a stone throw that you jump in a plane and tomorrow I mean
No.
get there. It's quite a distance. There is a lot of planning that goes into this later
Mm,
on, the medical team and all that, to
mm,
support uh,
mm,
King Charles. So I think that even comes down to the reason why we haven't seen those exact dates being
mm,
released. So there
mm,
is a lot of, I think, there's a lot of debating within the royal household on
mm,
whether this trip should go on or not, and what they want to do is not to let things until last minute.
mm.
So,
But if that's the queen, if that's how the queen feels,
mm-hmm,
she'll have the last word. That's my
mm,
view.
mm,
Because that's her role. Her role is to
mm.
protect her
To
husband.
protect her husband, and
Yes. Yes.
so she knows how strong he is, better than
Mm,
anyone else. So,
yes.
and given that we have two senior royals who are not feeling very well at the same
Mm,
time, so overstretching the other, knowing that there is another one who is not yet fully fit, is not a good idea. But
yeah,
let
it
us
could
hope
change.
that things could change, that clocks behind the scenes, they are working very hard to make sure everybody gets back into their normal state.
That's right. Yeah.
Hi, Jay McDonald. Where are you messaging us from? Thank you for joining this live stream. Chantel Martin is always here. Bonnie, yes, Bonnie, it's been a while since Bonnie Banks been on. Great to see you. Leslie Handy, thank you guys. Every single one of you who is on this live stream, thank you
Ah,
ever so much for
there
joining
they are.
us.
Now I can
Yes.
see them. Yeah.
So we have a question there before we forget that. Can you read it on your side, that side? Is it
Who's the question from?
okay? So it's a question from Chantel Martin.
Okay, doke. Ah, here it is. Yes. Excuse me. I just switched the comments over. Have you heard that Harry is going to New York in, of course, in
Mm,
September to talk about the African parks?
mm,
And second part to the question, do you think someone will ask him about the Baka people? I was
mm,
actually going to cover this today. I was going to do a post on this in
mhm. Hmm.
top. Well, what are your thoughts, Francis? You're
I
the
haven't
host.
I haven't read much about it, okay, apart from knowing that Prince William and Catherine themselves intend to travel to New York around September, end of September time. This is still developing these talks within the royal households, and of course still unconfirmed at this stage. But William and Kate apparently intend to travel to New York to attend a summit on Earthshot Prize. So usually in that summit, I think they debate or vote or look at individuals who have
Mm, mm,
come up with brilliant ideas, and then they reward those in the
mm.
in the Earthshot Prize day itself. So that is as much as I know about, them traveling to New York. But this Prince Harry thing of going to New York, of course, and if he's to travel there, he would also like to maybe travel, maybe pinpoint September, because he also knows probably that William and Kate sort of wants to divide the attention somewhere, somehow. But it is very interesting because when you talk about it now, I think I will read more about it and leave a comment under the live stream when it's finished. But there
I
is.
think that
Hmm?
it's not surprising. I think Harry is a bit. He's showing desperation because there's also scuttlebutt that he's releasing the paperback
Paperback. Yeah.
version of his book
Yeah.
in
Mm,
October, and it will be at the same time as the King's Commonwealth Heads of Government Summit. So,
mm,
I mean, it's so desperate. It
mm,
really is bordering on pathetic now. In the
mm,
beginning, it was dividing media attention, it was dividing the attention of royal watchers, but now there's no competition and it's actually quite pathetic. And there's nothing new in the paperback. He'll get some extra money out of it, no doubt. But people are not buying it. They'll go to they've got a copy at the library here,
mm,
or they'll
mm,
get it in their local charity shop, or um, you know, find they'll find something on the street. There's a location near me where they drop a lot of secondhand books outside this huge
mm,
shop, and it's in agreement with the shop. And I
mm,
picked up a fabulous biography of Catherine, the Prince of Wales, there for free. So,
mm.
Harry's really pushing against the wind here. You can't, books are so readily available. And if you've got nothing new in there, no one's interested.
No one is interested because what is he going to talk about that people haven't heard already? And like everybody knows, this
Mm,
is all, you know, this is all lies. And
yes.
they sold that book because people wanted to see exactly what they were going to say in this book. And after hearing it, I think it came down to, oh, this is another whinging.
Mm,
And
mm,
so really, this is being very desperate, and trying to milk more, try and get as more as they can milk out of these projects they've already put out there, because it seems like they can never come up with any new material, you know.
yes.
So there is so much desperation going on there. But also we heard that Netflix is apparently not intending to renew their
I read
project.
that. Mm,
Yeah. And so there is that pressure on them to find ways of surviving. So 100 million US dollars or pounds is quite a big sort of money to not go ahead with a project like that. So all these other projects we hear, paperback and all of these that they want to release and try and see that they can get as much as they can from those, could well be because they reading into how their business is going forward. New projects are not going to be very forthcoming. Okay. So
Yeah,
there is a lot of desperation there.
it
Desperation.
does look desperate. It does. It's really pathetic.
Mm.
It's I don't know. I mean, what does he think this looks like? What does he hope to gain by going to New York in September, competing with the time frame of his brother and his wife, who are very, very popular in America? And what does he
Mm.
hope to achieve by releasing the softback version of his book while the king is, in his Commonwealth Heads of State summit? It's I don't know. I mean, it's really quite sad.
It's
Just,
it is. It is
so
very, very
yeah.
sad. And it begs the question that who is advising them? Like, who is giving them these ideas? Because surely the people around them are the ones failing Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, in my opinion. Because we have heard that okay, Meghan, Prince Harry, they don't take on advice or they don't, that if they have put you in place to advise somebody, stand your ground and say, right, I think this is the right step to take with regards to this. This is what we should do here. But it seems like everybody they are bringing on board is literally probably not well trained in what they are doing, or it is Meghan and Prince Harry who just don't want to take on advice. Like somebody the other day said, I was talking to a friend of mine and said that Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and of course, from reading around, um, there is a newspaper article that suggested that Prince Harry, Meghan Markle are the most difficult people to work with
Oh,
and to work
mm,
for.
I saw
And
that. Yeah.
you saw that, and it also explains probably the reason why we are having a high turnover. Them losing workers, CEOs, and as we speak right now, Meghan Markle can't even find allegedly a CEO for her Riviera Orchard strawberry jam. Okay, so it comes down to these two people being in a position where they cannot accept help or they just necessarily decide to do their own thing. And it is now going to cost them in almost all departments.
Well, you can't expect people to trust you. She wants top people in those roles. But when you have this history of staff leaving and you've got a report that's hidden in the bowels of um, Buckingham Palace on a bullying report, how do they expect to attract talented staff? And the problem is that everyone knows Meghan runs the show, so Harry is just leaning on his wife's advice. Honestly, if he would be far better advised if he took advice to meet with his father and say, his staff can get in touch with his father's aides and advisors and say, Papa, I know it's difficult for you to travel. How about I come and visit you? No conversation. I just want to check in with you. I know you're busy while you're away, but let's meet for an hour while you're on your summit, during
Mm,
a break. Nothing.
mm,
There's nothing.
mm,
And it just makes him look petulant, like they've had another blow up. So, oh, okay, so I'll do this. But
mm,
I think that the problem is when someone is really ill or someone is going through these crises, like Catherine and oh my gosh, can you see the crowds when they go over there in September after her illness? They're going to be
oh, yeah.
going crazy. So why
Mm,
even bother competing? Why bother? But the
mm,
issue with his father, oh, look, he is just going to be living with just a bucket full of regret one
Yeah,
day
yeah,
because of
yeah,
this. It's just going, it's all there and it's all going to just come down and pour over him like an avalanche of,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just
I agree.
so sad. It's so
It's very
sad.
sad. We're
And
very, very sad.
the public, the British public would just come behind him if he did that. If he reached out to his father and said, Papa, I'll come and I'll meet you somewhere.
Mm, mm,
You've
mm,
got to really go the extra mile with people when they're going through these health crises. And he's not prepared to do it. It all has to come from his father.
mm, mm. And we heard that where are we? Yes, yeah. So we heard that he's very desperate now with his wife Meghan to make up with the royal family. So
Yes, yeah.
that story came up very recently. I think uh, it was trending the whole of yesterday and
Yeah.
the day before. Prince Harry very desperate, and Meghan
Mm,
Markle to make up with the royal family. And so we've had these stories, come up, say, I think it was also first released, that story, about 3 months ago. Again,
mm.
we had a glimpse of Harry, Meghan desperate to make up with the royal family. But now it has even become more pronounced. The all social media agencies are talking about it, and everybody is asking, why all of a sudden do we see this desperation coming on? Okay. Is it that maybe Prince Harry is starting to realize that I need my family, the freedom flight that I was rejoicing about last time from Frogmore to Heathrow Airport? Oh, this is my freedom flight.
So ridiculous.
So is Prince Harry now realizing that this freedom flight wasn't actually going to be freedom that he thought he was going to have? Okay. And from reading on how their projects are not working into anything meaningful, they are losing deals. Netflix, Spotify went down the drain, you know, the Archwell Foundation, well, as we see, they are literally just holding on. Okay. Just
Oh, it's
squeezing
so,
any way they
oh,
can to try
it's
and put
just,
something on the foundation website.
it's so
Okay.
cringy.
It is, yeah. So, offering to give a set of drums and all of that, try and spice up the website. So, when we see how those struggles with their projects and their way of making money have caught up with them, have become more pronounced, maybe can we start to understand why there is a desperation for them to come back in, meet the royal family. And also, we had the phone calls being made to King Charles, most of which were missed calls because the king was very busy. Okay, the tables changed. It isn't
Mm.
like the other time where Harry would pick up the phone, "Hi, Dad," and he answers straight away. Whenever he comes in, he walks into Buckingham Palace or goes to one of these royal residences whenever he wants. Tables changed now. He has to put everything in writing, whether he's coming to see the king or,
Who knew?
Okay, so he has to do that. So there is that distance that was put there. And that is all because Meghan Prince Harry put them onto themselves when they set out onto those projects they did, and showed the royal family that they cannot be trusted. So this desperation we see here being talked about in all these reports is
Yeah.
starting to make us think that they've realized that the road is coming to the end. There is a song by the Boys to Men. This is the end of the road. It's end of the road, and so it might be that they've come to the end of the road, so they see nowhere else to run but inwards into the royal family. And sorry, I'm going on and on and on, but also
No, no, this is an important point you make because this is what I believe is driving them.
yeah, yeah. And we have seen a sudden change in tone of Meghan Markle recently, again, from reading around in these reports. We had a Duchess of Sussex who was talking about never ever going to come back into the UK. Never. Two, I can actually come back to the UK as long as you promise me where to stay and some
Oh,
security. Okay.
they, I
So,
think they hold all the cards,
yeah,
those
so that
two.
sudden change in tone from never coming back to now, I can come back if there is a place to stay. So this is
Mm.
all leading us to think that surely, I think this desperation is starting to kick in, and they know that, with how projects not going the way they expected and them wanting to still live a good life, the only way to do that is to get back closer to the royals and in some capacity work and gain more connections. What are your thoughts, about that,
Oh,
Kafri?
look, I've witnessed this personally. I've witnessed it in another family and what's happening, what goes on when a significant, like the father is dying, has cancer, and all of a sudden they realize, oh, you know, oh, what about me? What about my inheritance? What about, and yet they haven't been there for years. And then they put they put sick their sick parent in an invidious position of having to rely on their partner, their wife, their husband, to their wife, their closest um, person, to actually protect them. And you'll have to excuse me. I've been accused of having a bit of a cynical edge by my closest relatives, and also sometimes, comments on my TikTok or YouTube. They say, "Oh, you're such a cynic." But when you see human nature in those sorts of circumstances, you become aware that not everyone is driven by good intention. Not everyone is driven by wholesome. They're not driven by. They're driven by greed, and
Mm,
I really feel, and I just hate to say this. I feel that Harry's worrying about his inheritance as she's worrying about herself. She's worrying about
mm,
what's in the bank for her.
mm,
And I'm
mm,
sorry to say this, but I see this in Harry as well. And it disappoints me because his father loves him. And, we've seen a report now that the king is looking for spiritual advice. That's why, some commentators, at first I wasn't sure about it because it sounded like speculation. But he's looking to the Archbishop of Canterbury, who
mm,
now says that the Church of England is no longer called a church. Well, what does that make the king? The
mm,
head of the communities, English communities. It's just like, I can't work this out. It's all very
mm, mm, mm,
confusing. But the point is, the king has to establish boundaries with a close someone that he's so close to. You're
mm,
not closer to anyone other than your children, which
mm,
he's close to Harry. And we
mm,
must remember he lives under the spectre of the death of his mother. He doesn't want to live under the spectre of an unfortunate overreaching on Harry's part. He wants
mm,
to try and manage the situation for
mm,
everyone's benefit. I just,
mm.
I don't envy the king at all, but I'm being cynical. I'm sorry, Francis, because it's not
No, no,
attractive,
no.
but they just look desperate. And I wanted to ask you this question. Do you think anyone at the palace is listening to any of these pleas from Harry and Meghan? Oh, I'll come over if, oh, blah, blah, all of these headlines that you've just read out for us. Do
Mm,
you think
mm,
anyone's listening? What's your
okay.
thoughts?
So first, that's a good question, and first and foremost, in the palace, before I forget, let's first quickly look at this because these comments disappear. So we've got Lisa here. So, Lisa says the king needs legal advice, not spiritual advice. Absolutely. I think I agree with you on that, Lisa, because these matters now, have they need to approach them from a perspective of, legality and all of that, because the son himself taking his father's government to court for transfer security and all of that stuff, not even thinking about the distress that can cause to the monarchy, having to stand there and testify and say things that you are not supposed to say. And the royal family always dreads a situation where somebody or a member of the royal family will have to stand in that box to testify something or to talk about something, because they know this is where anybody can say something that they are not even supposed to say. But also it brings the royal family into this scrutiny, into this, the royal family always doesn't want to get into the press for anything bad, or they always try and protect the image. So for Prince Harry not to think about the repercussions of what might happen when he takes to that box and testify and say things, and of course we know what he said in that witness box, things like, oh, they paid to protect my brother from the media and whatever, but they wouldn't do the same for me. And so you could see that there was a lot of stuff spilled out that the royal family and even us royalists would never want it to come into the public eye, because this is all very private information, okay, private things.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when Lisa comes in to say you need to seek legal advice, I really agree with Lisa, 100%. But also seeking advice from Justin Welby, because this is the Archbishop of the Church of England. Justin himself was wronged by Meghan. Prince Harry was lying
Exactly.
against when they sat there and said the wedding you saw wasn't the real one. The real one had happened days before that. Okay. And so that made the Archbishop of England, Justin Welby, who conducted that wedding ceremony, look like a fool. And so everybody was wronged by these two somewhere, somehow. Okay. And the other thing, this brings me back to what you asked, that do you think people in the royal family are reading into these headlines and all of that? They would have. Okay, so our Catherine has disappeared, but she'll probably come back.
Yeah. Oh, you're
So
back.
there you go. Yeah, is the signal playing up in
No,
Australia?
no, it's good. It just
Yeah.
broke just briefly. Yes, you're
Okay.
right, Chantel. She
Yeah.
points out that the
Yeah.
Church of England in Australia is the Anglican Church. But that's
Mm,
just an aside talking about
mhm,
Justin
mm.
Welby.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
So,
They actually, what they
mm,
did with him, they put him in a terrible
a
position.
terrible position of having to explain really whether that was true, and so making somebody like that appear like as though they lied is of course going to be a very, very bad mark on the Archbishop themselves. And if there was anybody who loved Prince Harry, who loved these two brothers as two of them, it was Justin Welby, the Archbishop. Because at some point we heard that he was actually in the mix of trying to get them back together. Okay. When again this spare thing came up and destroyed all aspects of them reuniting. Okay, William and Harry reuniting again. So it's more like they say, right, you know what? Let's leave it up to him to sort himself out. When he realizes in future that the path he's taken is the wrong one, he will still come back to his senses. More like the two brothers. In the Bible, there's a story of a father
Yeah.
and two sons, and one of them went AWOL, and then eventually came back on their knees to apologize, and So it's a case of holding out and see where Harry will end up and probably come back when he realizes. And could this desperation mean that maybe that end of him running wild is in sight? Okay. Is it in sight?
Well, I mean, we all have our wild days, most of
Mm-hmm.
us.
Mm-hmm.
I think that nature, to one degree or other, is in us all.
Mm,
Um, I think the problem with Harry is it's really, I feel he suffers. I was thinking about this morning
mm,
quite deeply, actually, and I'm a little bit of an overthinker, but I was thinking his problem is he, I think he's grown up under, I'd be interested in your thoughts on this. He has, he knows the rumors about him being illegitimate, and whether he is or not is, whether he was someone else, his father is someone else. So he's had that. He, his mother had bulimia when she was pregnant, so he's grown up lacking nourishment in the womb. Then he's born into this argument, this public discussion about his legitimacy, and then he's obviously struggled being, as he puts it, the spare. Labours the point on that. It's not that it hasn't been used before, but he labours the point. And I feel he suffers from this. And I think this is why Charles finds dealing with Harry so difficult, because his concerns have plagued him all his life. And I mean, this is my opinion. Okay, it's just based on observation of human behaviour and what we read in the press, what he's written in his own book.
mm,
So little wonder Charles is beside himself, trying to figure out how to deal with this son. But I don't think Harry's at the end of the road by any stretch, which I think is really worrying. See, when that prodigal son came home, he threw himself at his father's feet. He
mm,
just
mm,
he was totally repentant, and
mm,
he said, I've sinned against heaven, and I've sinned against you, my father. Just if only you can forgive me. He didn't ask for anything. Yeah, I
mm,
just asked for his father's forgiveness. And
mm,
unless Harry can reach that point of total, absolute brokenness, and I
mm.
hope he does it before his father sees out his days, because
Yeah,
otherwise
yeah.
there's a world of hurt waiting for him.
This is his only chance to try and find
Yes.
ways of reaching out to not just his father, but to Catherine, Princess of Wales, because she allegedly was also very hurt with what they said, that they married her
Yes.
in because she fit the mold, but William Catherine, really, there was no love at all. So those were very strong allegations in that interview. Was it in Spare? So he has a lot of work to do with repairing those bridges that he broke. So his father, you know, King Charles was also hugely, allegedly disappointed with this whole aspect of Prince Harry attacking Camilla in that book and say, my father would have never married. You know, that really, really apparently hurt the king. Okay, so again, you see that almost everyone was attacked in this book, Catherine, Prince William, King Charles. And so there is a lot of apologizing that needs to happen from the side of Prince Harry. And as he grows, he's turning 40 in 15th September, which is in about 18 days' time. We hope he's going to realize, because when you get to that age, you start
Yeah.
sharing
Yeah.
relationships with people you have wronged. You start acting more like an adult. So 40 years on 15th of September, he will want to use that milestone achievement to try and make up with the parties he's wronged. Whether it means him writing a very personal letter to his brother, okay, and say, listen, we have gone through this and I've said this about you, done this with my wife that might have wronged you and Catherine. I beg to be forgiven. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I was in a different space at the time to where I am now. And I've realized that all this long I have been led on a wrong
yep,
path. Okay. So we know that there are stories, in the media saying that, Prince William has already ruled out Harry as a brother, and Harry himself goes around telling people allegedly that he has no brother. Okay. So things really, really got to that point. And Prince Harry will now want to use this 40th to try and see how he can get back into these people's good books. Whether he's going to get back in the royal family somewhere, somehow, or not, he still needs to get that off his shoulder. Because I know somewhere, somehow, he is also feeling that weight. Okay?
I think you're right there.
Hmm.
That's I actually agree with you. I think that's quite right.
Hmm. And so we hear he's going to celebrate his 40th with a group of friends in United
Mm,
States, and
mm,
then allegedly he also intends to come back to the
mm.
UK, according to a certain source, to try and spend another birthday celebration with a few of his friends here in the UK. And we know how much he misses the UK. You cannot you cannot celebrate a milestone birthday away from home and you actually think you have properly celebrated. Okay? All his real friends and the memories that he has made over time are here. So
Well,
this story
that's right.
with
It's in
him,
his DNA.
yeah, yeah. So
In
he's
his DNA,
apparently
it's
intending to
what?
come back here,
Yeah.
but he will not. None of the royal family members we had allegedly will be even present for his milestone birthday, little birthday celebration.
So
Leave around the
sad.
senior royals, but the Eugenies and all these others who used to be that close. Allegedly, none of them. And the reason for that is again going to come back to right. Can we trust ourselves being anywhere near? Okay. Can we trust him anymore? And again, certain sources revealed a few weeks ago, the other time, that even people within the royal residence, within the palace, are not even allowed to say anything, to just say Meghan or Harry's name.
Is that right? Oh, I hadn't read
Okay,
that.
so these
Wow.
there's a story that was trending online
Ooh.
that they are not allowed to say anything, members of the household, anything, a word about Meghan and Harry. So it is very telling of how the royal family perceives the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. And it shows the level of work, the high level of work that needs to be put in on the side of Harry. Okay, we leave Meghan Markle out of this because, it is Prince Harry. If these talks are to really take place, it is Harry who is supposed to be wholly in the mix. And Meghan Markle, if at all, she intends to come back, she shouldn't be anywhere near Harry when these conversations are taking place. Okay. So there is a lot of work to do. Prince Harry, imagine celebrating his milestone birthday with no
It's pretty
member of the
shocking.
family. It's very shocking. And it all
Yeah, yeah.
comes down to Prince Harry himself, putting himself in those
Mm,
positions. Because if he hadn't
mm.
taken the path he took, he wouldn't be there. But now that he made his bed, he has to lie in it. He has to. Okay.
Well, he's it's all self-inflicted. This could have been all avoided, but
Mm,
I think he believed by marrying a black woman,
mm,
okay, um, whatever that looks like, whether it's 47% Nigerian, 50% Colombian, who knows? Like this, she's Maltese one minute, Italian the next.
mm,
I mean, I don't. I'm not saying anything off like new here. That's all on the record, right?
mm, mm,
So don't come after me that I'm a racist or something. It's all out there. So
mm, mm,
this is just. I believed when he married Meghan, they got together, the two of them, their nasty little natures, pillow talk way into the wee hours of the morning. He thought he was besting his brother by marrying a black woman because Harry has a history of racism.
mm, mm, mm,
He's actually known as a racist, and I believe he was asked the question, how are you going to go marrying a biracial woman? And she is biracial. She's not black. She's not white. She's biracial. So he was asked that question, knowing your history and some of the things that have tripped you up, some of the things you've said
mm,
in the public space that have haunted you. How are you going to go? I believe the whole thing behind. I'm not saying there wasn't any attraction, but
mm,
he believed he was getting one over on his brother, and I'm so convinced of it. I'd take bets on it.
mm,
So
mm,
I just he's just so insecure. He's so full of resentment. He's seething. You can just see his inner man is just seething like a snake pit, full of resentment and bitterness and hurt. And it was all avoidable. It was
mm,
just
mm,
so unnecessary. And can you imagine how distraught his mother would be seeing this today? I don't wish to speak for the dead here, but no mother, particularly a mother that was the mother of an heir to the throne, and she thought Harry would be a really good wingman, she
mm,
would be
mm.
devastated by this. No
She
question
would.
about it.
She would, and Harry himself knows that because in an interview in United States some time back, if we have anybody on here, remember that interview when he was asked that, what do you think your mom would have felt about you not being in touch with your brother or being in such a situation? So we've lost Catherine. She's back here.
Stage.
Yeah.
I was. What happens if
Mm,
you lose me? I've
yeah.
gone backstage. Yeah.
Backstage, yeah, yeah.
I'm
I
not
thought you
doing
had gone
it.
to put
I
the
think it's
kettle
when
on. I thought you got to put the
I have
kettle
my
on.
coffee.
Yeah. So, our dear
Yes,
friends
you
in
were
the comment
saying.
section below, if our sound isn't great, give us a nudge so we try and adjust equipment. See, I think we have a bit of a glitch somewhere because our dear Catherine goes behind this goes backstage quite often. So I'm thinking
Every
it
now
might.
and again. Yeah.
Mhm. So yeah, so that question there was asked,
Shit.
right? That do you think if your mom was still here, you would be in this situation you are in with your brother? And quite frankly, Prince Harry
Oh,
said
yes.
we wouldn't have got this far. He said we would not have got this far. So he knows that his mom would have never allowed Harry to run this wild, to go this way. And it's more like Princess Diana also, because we've seen these clips, videos, and all over that Princess Diana with the boys. But she knew, she used to say, William is the sensible one. Okay. He used to ask her, there's a video I came across some time back, and she said, William is the sensible one. Okay. Harry's my boy. And I think by saying that, she meant that she has to always be there to direct Harry and calm him down and say, don't do this, don't do that,
Mm.
because she sort of knew the weaknesses. And it would have been great for her to be around, to be present and see where his boys are. And, Harry's right, they wouldn't have got to where they are. But if Harry knows that, then why isn't he coming back to his senses and start acting like his mom would have wanted him to act? Okay? Because this institution that has made him what he is, that molded him into the Harry, they had given them a role within the royal family and in the country, and he decides to throw it under the bus in the way they did with their
Yeah.
project. Netflix, the mocking
Mm.
of the Queen, the spilling of these royal secrets that it's you don't know what sort of damage that caused to the royal family. And the royal family, of course, has gone through a lot of ups and downs, some big mountains, small ones, but this Meghan and Prince Harry one was a little bit challenging because it is within recent times which are very difficult. Social media and everything you say can reach far away, can reach everybody, and so when you say something or do something, everybody's going to have eyes on, and that is going to change people's perspectives, whether it is right or wrong. Okay. But all we can say as royalists and people who support the royal family is that this is also a wave that the royal family will overcome.
I
It is
believe that. Yeah.
Mm, mm. It is important for the unity within the royal family to stay together, work together to save through these challenging times. And we've seen this work properly. Sophie, the Duchess of Gloucester, sorry, not Gloucester, Edinburgh, husband,
Mm.
Prince Edward. We see all of these other senior royals, the Duchess of Gloucester, Princess Anne. They've all, Catherine, William, they've all worked day and night to steer this boat still and try and move it forward. Can you imagine the way they felt the morning after the Oprah Winfrey interview? The royal
Well, I
that
I know what it did for me, and this is before I realized just how many lies they had told. I'll tell you what it did for me, and I was angry about it.
Mm,
Be, you know, I've made no secret of it. I haven't always been a fan of King Charles, and now I just hold him in, deep esteem, really. But I was furious. I was absolutely livid because now I was feeling sorry for King Charles, for the Prince of
mm,
Wales at that
mm,
time. And that was where my change in attitude to now King changed, because you just knew it was all a load of rubbish. It was just, they threw everything at the wall to see what would stick. And Oprah's got form with this kind of thing, we know what she did with Michael Jackson. This woman's got form, and she's been burnt by this interview with the Sussexes. So the king, like that, I'm just a nobody in no man's land. I had that reaction. Okay, how
mm,
did the family feel? How? Because my sister said, "Why are you so angry?" And she said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Because now I feel sorry for Prince Charles." She was laughing.
mm,
I had such, but that's all how all royalists felt. They were so furious for one reason or another, because it was all bunkum, it was all bollocks, it was nonsense, it was lies
mm,
on steroids. So the
mm,
family,
mm,
no wonder his brother has put a line under this. This is, and it didn't
mm,
stop. It just kept going and going and going. The lies just. Piers Morgan lost his job over it. People, like, it was just incensed. People were incensed by this. So I don't
mm,
blame whatever the king has to do to preserve his own sanity, and
mm,
Prince William to protect his family. I don't blame them. I support all of those decisions because it was
mm,
lies. It was, and while the Prince of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, was dying, and while his wife, the Queen, was concerned about her losing her husband, it was against all of that. Let's not forget, this was against some deep family heartache taking
mm,
place. It was,
mm, mm,
it was shocking. And then Meghan Markle goes out and says, I just find this breathtaking stuff. She goes out and says, oh, the royal family, they're using Prince Philip's illness, in her wide-eyed dove-like way about her, that no one buys anymore because she's so old now. Says me,
mm,
but I'm not trying to put past myself off as, some desirable thing. But
mm,
she says, oh, they tried to stall the Oprah interview. They used Prince Philip, and that no, we have to proceed, and it backfired. It backfired
mm,
that the way they did that. Just absolutely, just talk about putting the knife in when someone's dying.
mm, mm.
They did. She calls herself a feminist, and she treated our late queen like that.
Like
She
that, yeah.
while
And
her husband's dying.
in those very, very difficult days of the Queen, her husband wasn't, feeling very well. And from that time, the Oprah Winfrey interviews came out, it didn't stop right until the Queen passed. Okay, it didn't stop. And the family that had welcomed her so much, King Charles walked her down the aisle, who does that? The king, the future king himself did that. That was a sign of welcoming Meghan and Harry into the family, and we accepting her into the family. You know, they knew well before she came in that Meghan had her issues with her own family, and at some point the Queen had a bit of concern with how the royal family is gonna get involved in this, because when you marry somebody from that family and they've got these issues, so you've
Oh,
got to
exactly.
assume those issues as the royal family. But they still said, okay, we will support her through this. They welcomed her and see how she paid them back by saying whatever she did. And obviously Prince Harry sat there next to her, literally just confirming everything she said in that interview. How sad, how very, very sad.
There's no way back from that. There actually is no way back. That's my view.
Yeah.
It's the treachery is so public, and the Queen, we still miss her. Every time I see something about the Queen or I hear her voice, I get all emotional. So how did the British public feel? They revered her, they loved her. She was hasn't been the same since she's gone. And
Mm,
there's no way back from that. That's my view. The
mm,
treachery is so deep. They had to
yeah.
take these positions. And for media personalities to go on and bang on that the royal family, the king, needs to reconcile with his son, go take a hike, I say. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what they're dealing with. They're dealing with a drug addict here who's lost his mind.
Mm, and it was very what is very disappointing about it is the fact that Harry himself knew how bad this was going to be for the royal family, how the damage, he knew the damage that this was going to cause, that of all Operation Smear campaign through the Oprah Winfrey interviews and the spare. He knew the damage that was going to cause. That's why during the Oprah Winfrey interviews, when they talked about somebody who had said the racist comments, he said, I will not say that because it is going to be very what? That will be very bad. It will damage. The extent of the damage will be huge. So I won't say that. So he knew. And then later on, they still release the names that they allegedly said that, did he say King Charles and who, Catherine? So
And
there's a name.
Catherine, the King and
Yes,
Catherine, and it was
exactly.
supposed to be by,
Yeah.
it was supposed to
So
be an accident.
yeah, I
That's
said
for
it's supposed to be
sure.
an accident.
Yeah.
So by him telling us that I will never say who it was because I know the damage this will cause. And then later on they release the names. So honestly, you can say that this was intentional. Okay. So the way back in for Prince Harry, Meghan Markle is going to be extremely hard. Extremely
I,
hard.
I can't see a way. I can't. I just don't. I can see
Yeah.
maybe some reconciliations with some of the working royals, but with the
Mm,
top tier royals, I just
mm,
feel, particularly William, I feel the damage is done. And it's
mm,
not unforgiveness, it's boundaries because he has
mm,
to protect his wife. I mean, how ludicrous, how ludicrous to slander Catherine as a racist. That girl went to kindergarten in Jordan. She lived in Jordan during
mm,
her early years.
mm.
And the king might be a flawed human being, but he's not a racist. I don't believe that. I would never believe that about the king, even beforehand, before my transformation as a supporter of the king and
Mm,
loyal to him. I would
mm.
never have believed he was a racist. Even as a young Prince of Wales, if someone had said, oh, I would have thought, oh, what nonsense. Go and
He's
try and find something else to
to
level
say,
against him, you know?
yeah, yeah. He is very, very, very open-minded, very welcoming, and he's the leader of all faith in the country:
Mm-hmm.
Muslims, Sikh, Catholics, Protestants. Very welcoming, very open-minded. When you look at what the Prince of Wales charity has achieved to date, there is no charity in the world that can equal that achievement. And we know that the Prince of Wales, of course, that is King Charles's charity. He breathes that charity. It's his
Exactly.
baby. It has achieved a milestone with helping disadvantaged communities,
Yes, yes.
education. So talk about helping young people to succeed. That is the Prince of Wales Trust, Prince Trust. So through that charity, those actions, and of King Charles, who was the Prince of Wales then, you really can see a king who is very loving, very kind, and welcoming to everybody. Now, King Charles, and I'm speaking from a position of somebody who served in
Mm,
the royal family. Okay, his ADs, so these are the support people who help him around, with his duties, engagements, and all of that. Half of those are people from ethnic minorities. Okay, the other day we saw him walk with his immediate AD, that girl. She's Zimbabwean or Kenyan, whatever
mm.
she is. So that is King Charles for you. So it was very, very surprising for me to hear these names, whatever, from Prince Harry's pair, that King Charles, Catherine. It was more like he was targeting people that
Yep.
are very key, because the
Yeah.
king was key there, Karen King. And Catherine, Princess of Wales, is the most loved royal, and then we have Meghan Markle, who was trying to, have that competition between herself and Catherine. Catherine didn't see Meghan Markle as a threat at all. She welcomed her. In fact, she was part of the team that was put there to nurture and mentor Meghan Markle. Okay. And so I'm here thinking, did Prince Harry want to further to sort of damage this Catherine's popularity because she thought Catherine was becoming a threat to the popularity of his wife Meghan? So I don't know, but you can clearly see that these people that Prince Harry talked about as the people who were
Mm,
racist,
mm.
that he was targeting key individuals in this. And everybody knows this. I know it really, really hard from reading around, and we see this. Everybody knows how Catherine was deeply hurt by those allegations. And part of Prince William being not happy and being very, very distant in the way we are seeing right now is because of attacking his wife as well. Okay.
Yep, yep.
So the way back in is going to be very, 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 very difficult. Okay. And the chance that Harry has maybe might have a place in the heart of his father, King
Yeah.
Charles. Father,
Mm,
okay, but with his brother, it's a different story. And if
mm.
these reconciliatory conversations are to take place, Harry needs to make use of now and go through King Charles and talk to King Charles, because we have seen patterns of where the king has a little bit been allowing of meeting up and all over that. So he can use that opportunity. But if he waits until William sits on that throne, that will be it. That will be it.
It'll be all over.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're right. You're right when you
Mm,
say this is the moment he needs to take advantage of. This is his moment. But
mm,
if I don't know if you can, the problem is you're dealing with a drug addict. And uh, I remember this is one of my boys died from drug substance abuse, and my last conversation with him, he was so lovely, and he was probably the one most like me. But he said to me, Mum, he said, I just don't think you realize and he was in a good state, he was in a good place, but they go from being in a good place to then all of a sudden chaos reigns again. And you just, you got whiplash, mental and emotional whiplash. But he said to me, Mum, he said, he said, I just don't think you realize, he said, when you've got an addiction, that just drives you. He said, he said, and it feels good when you're indulging it. And he was really having this, I never forgot it. I feel quite emotional discussing it, but that's why I have deep empathy for the family and for Harry as well, because you're dealing with a drug addict. You're dealing with someone who's insane, and that's it. You know, and then when they have lucid moments, you hold on to them. You have those lucid moments with them, and you feel like you've got your boy back. And
mm,
the distance is not helping. The geographic distance is not helping, but he's done this to himself. He's run away. Freedom flight, as said earlier, freedom flight. He's done this. He's done this, and the problem is unless he's away from Meghan Markle, it's just what are the prospects? What are their prospects? Because she isolated him. She succeeded, which is what narcissists do. They succeed in isolating their fuel supply, and
mm.
it's just so sad. It's just so sad, but. I don't see any good end in sight while Harry is being petulant and releasing the the paperback version of his Spare in October, the same time as the King's on his Commonwealth Summit, and then going to New York in September. He's still being petulant.
He is where he should be thinking about how can I start to pull back on these projects. Okay, how can I start acting in a way that is going to bring me closer to these reconciliatory talks. Okay, it feels like he doesn't care. Sometimes that's how he comes across, when I look at these programs of his. Because remember, um, it was the Queen's funeral, and they were all of here, he
Mm.
came back, and after the Queen's funeral, we thought, okay, so he might have had a moment of reflection because he was here and you could see how he looked very bitter.
Yes.
Okay, so we thought, so my light goes off, but it's okay.
So that's our signal, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's the
that's the
signal.
signal.
We're coming to the end.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
These
We're
TikTok
getting
live,
in tune.
you, you
Yeah.
you can't you can't trust these 45 minutes, 1 hour, they run out. You can't trust them.
But you were saying, yeah, you're right about
So,
him. He looked beaten at the funeral.
yeah, he looked very beaten at the funeral when they were, getting down the steps at the Westminster Hall, and they were going down to stand around the coffin of Her Majesty the Queen. They stood guard for about an hour, and then after that, was it the Queen's own children also,
Mm.
the King Charles's and the Edwards and Sophie Anne stood round the coffin as well. But we had Harry there stood by the coffin, and he looked very beaten. Of course,
Mm.
they let him wear the uniform on that day. That's how they were very, very accepting of everyone on that day. So, so everybody thought, right, seeing Prince Harry stand like that, his grandma's coffin, looking
Mm.
down,
Mm.
he was having a moment of reflection on what he's done to the family and in those very last days of the Queen. And so we thought that was going to usher in a period of change for Harry. And then funeral finishes, he goes away. Next time we know, he's announcing the release of Spare.
Yeah, it was short-lived, wasn't it?
Yeah, because we thought maybe he's gonna pull
Mm.
back from Spare. He's
Mm.
gonna think of the heartache, the sorrow
Yeah.
that is going on in the royal family, and so he released this Spare just days after the Queen's death, when the royal family was
Yeah.
still hurting from left, right, center, and he adds on to that. Now that is the pain these royals are feeling. And that's what made people think, right, does he even have a heart? Okay. So I think I did a video post on the day. If you go back to my
I will
video post,
actually. I'll
yeah.
go back and look at your post.
Yes, it's
And Megan made it all about
yeah.
her. Remember
It
her
was
wreath?
around 9:30 in the night, 9:30 p.m. And I
Oh,
was
it comes
outside.
out.
Yes, I was outside Westminster Hall because I've finished going through to see the coffin, and I came out,
Yeah.
and then I stood outside Westminster Hall, and I did a quick recording and say, I'm right here in London, right besides Westminster Hall, just been in to see Her Majesty
I
lying in
think I
bed.
saw it.
Yes, it was
I
quite
think I
dark.
actually saw it.
Yeah, it's quite dark, and the lighting, of course, is not best. But I
No,
was
but I
right there in
remember
the
now.
heart of
But it was
London.
your lives that I was actually watching, and that was before we met each other and
Yeah,
started
yeah,
collaborating. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So I remember
Okay.
that day vividly,
Yeah.
and I said something like, I think this is going to be a huge moment of reflection for Prince Harry going forward. Will he go ahead with releasing Spare, or this has actually put some sense in him that these projects he's embarking on are not only adding on to the already wounded family that so loved him, but are going to tarnish the image. And then he goes back and boom, the debt is released for the Spare. And whatever in Spare, we all know wasn't good at all. So that is why these questions are always going to be there. Does he even care? Does he think about these things? okay, does he have that sense of judgment of, okay, what, how would this impact A, B, C, D? He just goes out and does what he wants. It is very sad because for as long as he carries with that sort of mindset and in that path, I think not only is he destroying all, even the bridges left, but also his way of opening up new projects for himself going forward, but even his children, because the more they distance themselves through their acts and behavior, the more those kids will grow up having no clue of their heritage, their cousins,
It's a big
and who is,
mistake.
yeah, and who is to blame? Of course, Meghan and Harry.
It's a big
Okay.
mistake because the
Hmm.
children are not connected to their heritage. They, what
Hmm.
does their prince and princess title has no meaning if they have no tree underneath with
Hmm.
roots that
Hmm. Hmm.
supports that. But I like the way you've gone back to that moment for Harry because he's got a frame of reference there.
Hmm.
And, God has his way, the universe has a way of bringing us in and reminding us of moments of regret. And, it compounds if we don't face it and don't deal with it. I like the way because he did look beaten. He didn't look like he was in a good space. And then when they got into their car, they were all around the exit to the church and the cars were coming and he and Megan got into the
The back
car.
seat, yeah.
Yeah, and he
You would
was
see
really,
him, that
yeah, he was
pathing
annoyed
of
because his cousins were ignoring him.
exactly, exactly, and it was more like the whole ceremony also served to show him the extent of the damage he had caused and how they were very much aware of how he had become an enemy of them
He'd
in a
become a
way.
pariah.
Yes, because remember very well at the Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee
Yep.
celebration, Catherine wore yellow outfit. Meghan Markle wore that white and the white hat, and came down to the St. Paul's Cathedral. The Queen did not attend that Platinum Jubilee service, if you remember very well. She stayed
Yes.
back because she
Mm.
was starting to become weak. So we saw Catherine, the royals. I was there right at St. Paul's Cathedral. Again, I did a live stream at the time. I've been right in the mix of these things, right
Oh, I'm
on
so
site.
jealous.
Platinum Jubilee service right there in front of St. Paul's Cathedral, and I would see all the
Oh,
royals
she's
arrive.
making me jealous.
I know. Okay. So Platinum Jubilee service, that was, the opportunity again they had before the passing of the Queen to try and apologize and come clean and get back to their senses. They didn't. And I remember after the Platinum Jubilee service, the royals went to Gorringe Hotel. Is it Gorringe Hotel? To have a
Something like the Grange, was it?
the
Or
Grange. Is it the Grange?
yeah, I'm
Yes,
not sure. But
for
anyway,
lunch.
we'll check it up. Yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah.
lunch. So after the service, they went for lunch. Harry and Meghan were not invited to that lunch.
That's
So
such a big
while all
deal.
yeah, while all the royals were heading into one direction, okay, that side down, Harry and Meghan went upwards, off to wherever they were staying. I think they stayed at the Frogmore Cottage then, because I think the keys hadn't been removed off from them. They still had
Mm.
Frogmore Cottage. So that's why they spent their weekend when they were here for the Platinum Jubilee service. But that was the day that Meghan, Prince Harry saw how they had caused a big damage because everybody was like booing outside St. Paul's Cathedral. They had done that Oprah Winfrey interview. Those memories were still very vivid in the public. And so they came here for the Platinum Jubilee service. They were not allowed to step on that balcony. Remember, for Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee, when she wore the green, the last wave we saw her. So they were not allowed. And then we also saw that arranged walkabout of Prince William after the Queen's passing. So that walkabout with William, Harry, and Catherine and Kate. So you could see that surely the Welleses were not impressed by these two. The look on Catherine's face, she wanted that space. So the royal family, over these events that they have been celebrating here, and Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have been coming around, they have been sending those messages that, we are just seeing you as Harry and Meghan, we no longer consider you as being inside of us here. So they have put those limits there, and those limits have only widened. They haven't narrowed. They've continued to widen and widen and widen, with no intentions of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry trying to find ways of apologizing, because we always talk about, right, is there going to be reconciliation? Do we want them to reconcile first and foremost? Many people here will argue that, okay, they can reconcile, but we can't have Meghan and Harry back into the royal household. That is a no, no, no. Okay, because that trust has gone.
Yeah, I was just about to say that you can't trust them. They take photos of inside. She does. It's not allowed. You're not allowed to do that. Oh,
Yeah, it
just
was
so
Goring.
untrustworthy.
Yeah, is that Princess Hallow says Goring Hotel? Yeah, Goring Hotel, I think it was. Yeah, that hotel holds so many memories, because that is where uh, Catherine spent her last night before the
Yeah, there
wedding.
you are. Yeah.
Yeah, before the wedding to William and Kate. It was the hotel where she emerged with that veil, and we saw a little glimpse of her jumping into the car before she headed over for that wedding. But so yes, you're right, Princess Harlot. Hi, baby boxer, Princess Harlot, cousins, everybody who is on here. Hi, Lily. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. God, we have had such a busy inbox. Very, very
Yeah,
busy chat.
it's been,
Yeah.
yeah, I, I,
Mm.
I can see a couple of. Tegan says here, if you had a private conversation with a sibling at your grandfather's funeral to find it in his book, uh, how can you ever trust that sibling again? He invaded his, like, just beggars belief. It just,
Mm.
Eugenie and Beatrice have distanced themselves from them. So, but I think you've made some really salient points there, Francis, in relation to both the Queen's funeral and the Platinum Jubilee and their presence. They were not wanted. That's what I felt. I thought, oh
Mm.
God,
Mm. Mm.
you know,
Yeah, yeah. The people sent their message very clearly, that, what? We are done with you. We are
yes,
done with you. And to say these things they said, especially in the Oprah Winfrey interview, because those conversations, that interview was watched, I don't know, but near enough the whole world. And those episodes apparently have since been pulled off
been
YouTube and
taken off the internet.
taken
Yep,
off the internet, yeah,
you
because they
can't
know they
find you can't find the
you can't
opening to
find
it.
them, yeah. And I know behind the scenes, probably, you know, even Oprah Winfrey's brand nearly collapsed after that interview,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
people, and how
yeah,
she was asking those leading questions, and it was more like she was setting a trap, and Meghan and Harry were falling right inside the trap with answering
yeah.
these without thinking about what they were going to say. Okay, so but this book, so that interview was erased, but people still have recollections and all of those things that were
Yes.
said. But this book, which is on those shelves, everybody has a copy in. How are you gonna pull those books back? How are you
You
gonna
can't.
retract whatever
It's
you
all
say?
gone out there
It's
now.
all gone.
Hmm.
So, with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, their relationship with the royal family,
Mm.
we can sit here and talk about reconciliation and
Mm.
but it will never be this the way it used to be before those books. Those
Mm.
that
Mm.
bridge that it has already been broken. I think there is no coming back. You get to a point of
No.
no return, and you know this is it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I understand people who would like some reconciliation. It's not like you don't understand it, but I think it's people are living in la la land, um, pushing for that because it's just not going to happen. Not after what he's done. It's not possible. And look, you know, if he'd have said someone else was a racist, maybe Prince Andrew or someone,
Hmm.
but no, he said the King and Catherine. And now they've got an army of supporters behind them, cheering them on in their recovery. Like, everything they did is nakedly self serving. There's no way back, no public way
No
back.
way back. And
No.
the other day, someone was asking that, right, so we've got Prince Andrew there and we've got Prince Harry here. Who do you think the king needs to deal with first? And why are people not hating so much on Andrew and they're hating Prince Harry more? Why? When both of them, these two are different cases, clearly different.
Mm,
So we have an Andrew where who we can say that is just a naughty boy. Okay,
mm,
somehow you
mm.
could argue, okay. But he's done nothing wrong to the royal family directly, as in, So you could say that he knows what he did. He's very, he's very regretful and he's very humble down there where he is. But this Prince Harry issue is a totally different one because it involves literally going against the establishment on many grounds. And also it impacts not just the monarch but the future. So it's present and the future being affected. You cannot just King Charles, but William is also attacked somewhere, somehow. Catherine is, she's, bless her, she's still going her recovery. And so the last thing she wants is all this fracas of Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and all of that sort of thing. But our only wish before we end this live stream is that one day, okay, Prince Harry puts his ego aside and issues that
Yes,
public, because I know they always gone about, oh, we want the
I agree with
family
you.
to apologize to us, we want the royal family to apologize to us. They still have this mindset that it's the royal family that needs to apologize to Meghan Markle, to Prince Harry. No, it's the other way
No,
opposite.
no,
Okay.
yeah,
So we just hope one day he comes clean and say,
yeah,
you know what,
yeah,
I've been acting out of my, say, senses, I was
yeah,
in a bad place. Try and put this thing out there clearly to try and let people know that all this heartache that the king went, the queen, the king, and all over that, has got some form of closure.
yes,
But without that closure, I don't think there will be any meaningful moving forward of
yeah.
the two ex-royals.
It's very sad. I'm in agreement with you. Look, William, he has the crown to think about. It's as heavy as the head that wears the crown, right? And he's got a lot on his plate. He has to protect that which has been entrusted to him, and it's as simple as that. And Harry has proven to be, he's just proven to be untrustworthy.
Mm,
It's really as simple as
mm,
that. And
mm,
I'm sure it breaks his heart. I'm sure he's brokenhearted over it, but he's got this future king.
Wherever he is, nobody knows
Mm,
what is going on
mm,
in his
mm,
mind, Prince
mm,
Harry. But I'm thinking somewhere, somehow, he sits down and gets
mm.
these more flashy moments in his head. And I think, because he's far away from his family, I think he gets moments where he's very lonely, he's very isolated.
Yes.
Imagine somebody who used to be here mixing freely with his cousins, brothers, to being grounded in Montecito. He's got no close friends there. He's just there outside of the world, just by himself there. You see the body language when they step out on these engagements with
Mm,
wife Meghan Markle, and he's sat there, bless, many people would say bless him. He sat there, and Meghan Markle seems to be enjoying because she thrives on these sort of
yeah.
things. That's her home, her place. And Prince Harry's right here. So
Mm,
that visit to Colombia, where Harry should have been sitting next to the vice president of Colombia, and having those conversations. He's the royal; he's supposed to be there. Prince Harry was thrown right at the end of the table. He sat there in a little corner on the table. It's Meghan in the mix here, so you could see that he's the way he's being treated out there. He misses that treatment he used to have when he was
mm.
still serving royal, when he was here. And sometimes I think the reason they have these trips to Colombia, Nigeria, an intended trip to India, somebody highlighted here,
Yeah.
is for Prince Harry to still feel like, okay, maybe this, I'm still being a royal. I can do something similar to what I used to do, because he enjoyed doing that. But even those engagements are not coming out in the way they should be, and he's
No.
very criticized. There's a lot of negative publicity, so they don't seem to be moving forward in ways that are meaningful. And I think he has these reflections, but to become man enough to start saying, right, I think I'm going to start seriously thinking of how I'm going to be moving forward, because he's still being basically led by Meghan Markle, everything. So for as long as they're in that partnership, that relationship,
Mm,
he's always going to be very short-sighted, in how I
mm.
look at things. And that is only serving to keep him far and far away from the royal family. Hmm.
Yeah, because
Hmm.
he's got two addictions that he needs to break. His drug
Hmm.
addiction, but also it's very difficult to break away from a narcissist, and that is an addiction on itself as well. To finally up and leave a narcissist because you've become codependent, and so he
Hmm.
is dealing with two addictions: his substance abuse, but also that narcissistic control. He's really caught in the spider's web there.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mm,
He has been caught in there,
mm,
and Donald Trump in United States the other day
mm,
was feeling very sorry about the British people. He said, "I feel sorry about the British people for how Harry and Meghan treated the Queen." You
mm.
know, Trump had so much admiration for Queen Elizabeth. And when he visited, I'd never seen a president so humbled, like how Trump was on
Yeah,
his visit
yeah.
to the Queen
Quite touching.
here. Yeah. And you could see him trying to observe protocol. I know he stepped ahead at some point, but you could
He's
see
so
him trying to come
clumsy.
and see. Yeah, you could
Mm,
see how he was bending in when the Queen was showing him stuff in Buckingham Palace rooms.
mm. Yeah.
So he felt he Donald Trump felt really, really beaten by how Meghan and Harry treated the
Mm,
Queen. Okay.
mm.
And in his presidency, if he gets back in, he's telling people he will have to do something about it. Okay.
Well, we'd like him to, but I doubt he will.
Oh,
But at least it keeps them on their toes. At least it
yeah.
keeps lets them know that I'm watching
Right.
you. I got my eye
Yeah.
on you.
Yeah. But thank you so much,
Yeah.
Tegan, for reminding us to hit the like button and subscribe. Yes, yes,
Oh,
of
yes, yes.
recent.
Yeah, and
Of
buy
recent.
Francis a coffee. Buy
Yes,
him a
yeah.
coffee.
And buy us some coffees. Catherine's channel as well at Royal Iota. Please remember, we will put that link in the comments after we get off. Please subscribe to Catherine as well. My humble request, I just posted a video shortly before we came on.
Yes, yes. It was very
Okay,
good, actually.
yes, please, please, if you get time, we have 32 of us here on the channel. If each one of us goes and views that video and give it a thumbs up or even drop a comment, that will go a long way to pushing our videos in the YouTube algorithms, and we start getting some real engagement on our video posts. I
Yes, lovely to
appreciate.
see everyone.
Yes, yes, I do appreciate every single one of you, and we always enjoy seeing you all here. And thank you so much, Princess Harlot. It's been wonderful having you and every single one of you. I think we're going to have to stop here. Catherine, your
Yes.
byes to our guests, to our
Bye bye,
visitors.
sweetie darlings. Bye bye.
Bye,
Thank you,
Catherine.
Francis. You're a wonderful host. And my
You,
channel is a royal iota, as in the smallest mustard seed in the on the internet.
yes,
Start
indeed.
small, end up big.
Good night, every single one of us. And we will be back soon, probably
Bye
after
bye.
tomorrow or somewhere. We'll see you again soon, guys. Bye bye. Night night,
Yes,
everyone. Yeah,
yes. I'm always up.
yes. Okay, then. Bye bye. Bye.